Good afternoon, Abhrudeep and Anima. Uh, Anima, what do you mean by main subjects? Are the exams before 21st also?
Yes, some major subjects like English, Hindi from 21st.
Okay. All right. We'll wait for a couple of minutes for others to join in. In case nobody joins, we'll just start off from. So we have Abhrudeep, Shampuran, and Anima. Abhrudeep is from Morning Bells. Shampuran is, oh, all the three of you are from Morning Bells. Hmm. See, if nobody else joins in apart from the three of you, know what I'll do is I'll just skip to that part where we had stopped this session at your school, right? And then we'll simply cover that part. Let's see for a couple of minutes, and then I'll start off. So in the meanwhile, if you have any questions for me, you can ask that to me, be it with respect to your subjects, current preparation, anything with respect to pre-boards, boards that are coming up. You can ask those questions to me. I can take those questions then. Shumitro has joined. Shumitro is. Good afternoon, Shumitro. No audio. Yes, good afternoon, Shumitro. Which school are you from?
Sir, hello. I am from LCGVM, Lions Calcutta Greater Vidyaman.
Okay. All right. Hmm. So what I will do now, so a portion of this session was attended offline by three out of four of you. So what I will do is I will cover the portion that was remaining in Morning Bells first, and then Shumitra, I'll take you through the remaining portion of the PPT. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
All right. So I had covered most of this in Morning Bells as far as I remember. I remember having skipped this. Did I talk about this portion? Can somebody remind me? Anima, Shampuran or Abhrudeep?
Sir, it was left.
Yeah. All right. So one of the aspects that I was talking about, this is in the portion of the strategies and the workbook that you had. So how can we improve concentration? This is something that a lot of people have asked me. So I have a question about a scientist. So this is a question about some scientist, some Russian scientist, and this is a joke take on it. Watch what can I make Dash do? As soon as I drool, he'll smile and write in his little book. Can you guess which scientist am I talking about? Any idea, anyone? So what goes in this blank? So this is Pavlov. Okay, have you heard of Pavlov's experiment? Pavlov's experiment on something called conditional reflexes. No? Okay. So I'll tell you a story. So what happened was Pavlov was a Russian scientist. What he used to do was he was trying to prove that we have reflex action. So reflex action would be, suppose somebody throws something towards you. You have a tendency of blinking or putting your hands in front of you, right? So that is a reflex that we have automatically by birth. He was trying to prove if we can create reflexes. So what he used to do, he conducted an experiment where for years, every day, he had a pet dog, he would ring a bell and then bring out some delicious food for the dog. And the dog would salivate at this point. So, or drool at this point, because he was looking at this delicious chicken or some other delicious food. So what was happening is he continued doing this for a long time. After that, when he rang the bell, without giving the food also, the dog started salivating. And this is famously called Pavlov's experiment. The reason why I talk about this is because of these apps that we have access to: Netflix, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, even these games like so we had PUBG. What is the new replacement of PUBG? BGMI, Battle Royale.
BGMI.
Yeah, yeah. So all of these apps, they have spent billions of dollars just trying to condition us towards a specific format that we are uh, are accustomed to. So what really has happened? So all these apps, they work on four hormones that we have in our body. We call these hormones happiness hormones, short form is DOSE. DOSE stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Right. So these are hormones which have a effect of feeling of pleasure or happiness within us. Okay, and what happens is, so what these platforms, especially platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, even YouTube Shorts, what they're doing is they're giving us very short format videos, experiences, and over time, what happens is that makes us feel very accustomed to short format videos, instant gratification, right? So we slowly, what happens is over time our patience level, attention level wears off. So I call this a Maggie versus biryani syndrome, where nowadays most people would everybody knows that a biryani tastes 10x 100x better than a Maggie, but we right now prefer having a 5 minute ke andar, so nothing gets cooked in 2 minutes. That's a overkill, over add. But I would get something basic, tasty like Maggie within 5 minutes. I would prefer that instead of waiting for hours to prepare a biryani, right? So what is happening is I genuinely believe that our generation, so your generation primarily, is smarter than my generation. My generation was smarter than my parents' generation. My parents were smarter than their parents. That is already there. And so statistically speaking, in the entire, so West Bengal mein, so I usually have an interaction with around 100, 150 class 10 students on and off. And I'm 100% sure in this, statistically speaking, at least 3 to 5 people would be smarter than Isaac Newton. But Isaac Newton had so many creations, right? With an intellect that is lower than 3 to 5 people in the current class 10 batch sample of 150 people that I'm talking about, then why are we not having daily breakthrough ideas and breakthrough sciences? It's because we have this mobile phone in front of us, which distracts us towards a constructive thought process. So in the 21st century, we have a specific superpower, and that is attention. And by overexposure to these apps, by getting conditioned through and through by these apps, our in general our attention spans are going down. And there is this famous professor of the 20th century, last century, one of the best teachers in physics. He used to say that knowledge is not free. Even if you are going to a free library, knowledge requires a specific payment. We have to pay attention. Acha, I see Kanishka has joined. So Kanishka, what I'm doing is, three of the students who have joined in right now had partially attended this session before. So I'm covering the portions that they have not covered. And then we will go back to the remaining portion of the syllabus. Okay. So remaining portion of the session that I have today. So this person said that knowledge isn't free. You have to pay attention. And unfortunately, this is a study that has been conducted by Bill Gates and the Microsoft Foundation. So what they found out in the year 2000, when the short format videos were not so rampant also, the internet had just barely come in, the average attention span of human beings was 12 seconds. They did the same study now, means 2015. Okay, this is not 2023. They found that this attention span had gone down from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. And at that point, they had measured this for a fish. They found that an average goldfish has more attention span than human beings. Now we are in the year 2023 with all these short format videos coming in. What do you think? Is our attention span higher or lower than 2015?
Sir, lower.
Yeah, definitely. We are way lower. We might be at something like 3.54 seconds average attention span. So in this fleeting thing, so the biggest currency towards learning is getting eroded. So it's very, very important to ensure that our attention levels are not going down, especially in the season of examinations. So one way to do this is you have to keep your phone far, far away, make notes while you are reading. This definitely helps in getting the initial concentration in place. I have seen that some music helps me. So, but again, you have to find out for yourself. For me, what happens? Music without lyrics tend to give me attention. If I play music with lyrics while I'm doing some work or studying, my attention span gets broken. Some people I have seen they work better with lyrical musics. Some students, some of my colleagues, I have seen that there is something called a white background noise. White background noise tends to grab attention for a lot of people. So you can try, you might try to venture on that zone, try out if that works for you, but you have to find your specific mix which gives your attention a boost. Next thing is I have seen often, and this usually happens around class 10, 11, 12 also, that the amount of physical activity slightly goes down. We are not playing every evening. So Sampuran is saying that he does not have the permission to unmute himself. Let me see. I have allowed everybody to be able to unmute. Should be able to unmute. Just check.
Sir, I have a query in here.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, in the first point you have written that keep your phone far far away. Sir, I
Hmm.
am agreeing with you, but sir, there is a problem with me. Sir,
Hmm.
while I am going through my textbooks, I sometimes get stuck in some topics. So there I need to get some of the like out knowledge, or need to go deep in that topic to get a thorough understanding of that topic. So for that I need to use my phone or some devices. So what can I do for that?
So ideally, what you can do is you can possibly have a scenario where you are noting down the doubts or the places where you're getting stuck. So there has to be periods, brief periods, which where you're planning that your phone will be not with you, will not be with you. And so once you have crossed that period, you have a list of questions which cannot work unless you are but so now you are absolutely stuck. You cannot proceed unless you have a understanding of these topics. Then for a period of time, you can bring in the phone, clarify all your doubts, and then keep it away. So it's like this. It's like a comparison between a live class versus learning on your own. So when you're trying to learn on your own, study on your own, doing that self-study part, it is better not to have access to the mobile phone because that actually breaks attention. Because the problem with mobile phone is it gives so many notifications. Your friends will text you over WhatsApp and you'll get distracted right at that moment. So you can try that probably. You can have specific time periods when you are not getting distracted by your phone, even if you have a doubt. You're storing the doubt for some half an hour, 1 hour later. Does that work?
Yes, sir. I will keep in mind of noting that one. That would be helpful, I guess. I guess no, I'm sure.
Right. So now one thing that where I got interrupted is going for brief walks and exercise. So what happens is I've seen that we are not regularly exercising or playing every day, especially with the boards, pre-boards coming up. So make it a point, make it a habit to at least go for brief walks during this time, even if it's for 10-15 minutes. Do that because if you do that, no, if your body is slightly energetic, has some bit of exercise, your mental hormones, the hormones that are controlling your attention span, that tend to align better. And one thing I will reiterate is meditating. Meditating definitely works a lot. So you can try that out. Uh, so how many of you does this happen that when you're studying hard, you feel hungry? Does this happen often?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So
No.
and yeah, so my mother used to um, think that whenever I am asking for food after say half an hour, 45 minutes of studying, she used to think ki ebar phaki marche. And then she used to scold me. But over time, she and I both realized that if we are really concentrating and if we are asking for getting hungry genuinely, not using it as an excuse to just not study and get a distraction, that's a good sign because our brains are the biggest energy guzzlers. So if we become hungry while studying, that's a good sign. It means your brain is working on hyperdrive. So that's a good thing that you can keep in your mind. I have one tactic to talk about how to study effectively. So if I have to talk about that, I have to talk about this gentleman, the same gentleman who had said that knowledge is not free. You have to pay attention. Can somebody guess who this is? Does anybody over here know who this is?
So Feynman,
Feynman, right? And what technique am I talking about?
Feynman technique. You told it about the previous session in our school.
So you have gone through this. So I'm just skipping this right now. I will come back to I have covered all of this for you all. So I will come back to have I also covered the golden rules of planning?
Sir, you haven't yet discussed it. You just told that it's the Feynman technique and you will discuss it in the session.
What's that? So I did not discuss this portion.
Yes,
So
sir.
right. So then let me just go and talk about this a bit. So what the Feynman techniques says is this is one of the best ways of learning anything. So what you have to do is you have to choose a concept, any concept. Okay. Once you have chosen the concept and you have understood this on your own, the way to ensure that you have no gaps in your understanding. So there is often our parents or teachers would say a base clear nahi, the foundation is not clear. So that can be definitely solved by this technique is you have to find somebody who does not know this concept. Now, usually this is a child. This can also be a person who is illiterate, who has no background of the topic that you're studying. This can also be your parents if they do not have an idea about the topic that you're studying. It can also be your grandparents. It can be anybody. It can be a rickshawala, any young person who has not gone through this topic. Once you find such a person, you will have to teach this topic to this person. And after teaching, you will realize that not all the concepts that you're talking about is understood by this person. And if this person that is not understanding that specific bit of the topic, that essentially means you have not been able to clearly explain. And the reason why you have not been able to clearly explain is because your own understanding had gaps. So based on where you are able to teach or where the person is not able to understand, you have to identify gaps in your own understanding. You have to review your own understanding, simplify it, and repeat the process of teaching. This technique, I'm telling you, is one of the most effective ways of ensuring our concepts are always clear. Okay. So this is the Feynman technique and this genuinely works. I will skip to that, but I think I have covered all of this in Morning Bell. So I'm just glancing through it. I'll come back to it after the entire, I covered the gaps. Did I also talk about the 3 golden rules of planning?
No, sir.
I have not. So the goals, the 3 golden rules of planning are like this. So we are going to for others. So for Kanishka and Shumitro, I'm going to cover where we have a certain goal. The next part is talking about certain strategies that we have to follow in order to get this goal. This segment is all about how do you plan to achieve the goal. Okay. So I have often made this mistake. So throughout my life, what had happened is every single semester would pass. I would get a poor marks. And at the end, every day, so I would get a lot of jhar from my parents because of this. And in the end, what would happen is I would promise to myself the next semester, next semester, I'm going to do extremely well. And I would create a very big routine, saying that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every day I'm going to study for 6 to 10 hours. I would have this stretch goal. And I would feel exactly a slot, a subject, and I almost, it was like every day almost I was studying every subject in that routine that I used to make. But I used to at most follow that routine for 1-2 hours, get tired, become very happy, routine and the routine would go down the dustbin. I would never follow the routine. Although the intent was of doing better was there, but I was not planning properly and I could never execute the plans that I had made, which was making me struggle a lot in terms of my executing the plan that I had made to achieve the goal. And obviously that meant that I am not achieving the goal that I had. So I'm going to talk about 3 golden rules of planning. These golden rules are based on some basic mistakes that all of us make while we plan. So the first mistake that we make is while planning, we tend to overestimate ourselves, and while executing the plan, we underperform. So for example, like I said, I used to plan that I would study for 6 to 10 hours every day. on that day where I got the report card, I wanted to do better. But while executing this plan, I would invariably not study more than 2 to 3 hours. I was overestimating, underperforming. That led to, a non-commitment towards the plan that I had made. That eventually did not work out, and I left the plan. So the golden rule number one is, while planning, we need to underestimate ourselves and over deliver while actually executing. What do I mean by that? So if you think you are going to study for 4 hours, you plan for 3 hours. Give yourself that one additional hour. And if you are overdoing, that is going to give you a good ego boost. Say you think that a chapter you want to complete in a specific day, it is going to take you 3 hours time. Give yourself 3.5 to 4 hours time to do that. So you are underestimating your capability while planning, and you are over delivering while actually executing. So give yourself that room. So this is the first golden rule. Second golden rule is, so like I said, at the beginning of the year or beginning of the second term, I'm making this big chart, which is like fixed for the entire year. I was planning for days, weeks, months in advance. But what used to happen, that suddenly I got to know that I have made the routine today. Day after tomorrow, there is some best friend's brother's birthday, or some Mashi's. So some Mashir Meer কাকুর বাড়িতে কোনো দিদির বিয়ে, suddenly I have to go. All of these things happen. All of these unforeseen things always end up happening, and my plans went down the drain. This, I'm pretty sure, would happen with everyone. Does this happen with everyone?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think? What is the way out? What should we do instead of planning for days, weeks, and months in advance? How many days should we plan at a time?
So
So
per
not
day.
the
Shampuran was saying something, Shumitra was saying something. Chalo, one by
sir,
one.
only the present day.
Only the present day. Fair enough. So I agree with you. We should definitely plan only one day at a time. So today when I wake up, I have a fair understanding of what today is going to look like. And what we should do is, we should plan only for today. That today I'm going to achieve this. In fact, I'm not in fact, one of another golden rule is being abstract, saying that I will study 3 subjects today, or I will study for 4 hours today. That is abstract planning. What happens is, if you are planning like this, even if it's for one day, if you're being abstract while planning, you will end up wasting time after you have started to do the execution. That again derails you. So, for example, I have a small joke about this, that even if you tell God, "Oh God, please save me," the God will always ask you back as a JPG or as a PDF. So what all I'm trying to say is, even God cannot save you unless you are being specific in what terms are you asking for the saving. So what you need to do is, you need to be very, very precise about what your plan is. So for example, you can say that I want to complete the theory portion of Newton's laws of motion of physics in 1.5 hours time. Or I can say that I'm going to practice the chapters of genetics and evolution of biology. But I'm more specific. I want to practice 15 questions of genetics and evolution of biology within 2.5 hours. And like I said, under estimate overperform. So if I'm thinking it is going to take me 2.5 hours, I'll allocate more hours to it. I'll allocate 3 hours. If I'm thinking this is going to take 1.5 hours, I'll allocate more. I will allocate 2 hours. So these are the 3 golden rules. The first rule is underestimate overperform. Second is plan only one day at a time. And third, be as precise as possible. So for example, this is something that I do every day. So in my own company, so every day I would plan out in the morning that these are the tasks that I need to achieve for the specific day, and I'm going to spend this much amount of hours. And not only this, so we have created this dream big planner that we always follow. Everybody in the company in EduTime follows. So everybody in the morning is expected to fill out this work of the day, plan this day, and then accordingly work for that. So that what helps is, what does this do is, everybody's clear with what they're supposed to do, and then they feel better, because every day is being planned. We are tracking progress every single day, right? So one more thing I'm going to talk about before I let the Bonding Bell students go is how do we improve weak subjects? How do we clear backlogs? How do we remove subject phobias? So all that I'm going to say is, there is this. Have you heard of Mark Twain? Mark Twain.
Yes, sir.
What has he written that you remember?
So, Adventures of Tom Sawyer,
Um,
Huck Finn.
yes, yes, yes. Or Huckleberry Finn, I think. Huckleberry Finn.
Yes, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
Huckleberry Finn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn. These are some things that Mark Twain had written. And Mark Twain had said one thing. If you ate a frog in the morning every day, nothing worse could happen to you through the rest of the day. Okay. So, what does this mean? So, essentially, imagine eating a frog in your breakfast. After that, whatever you eat is going to feel like Jannat. Like it's going to feel like the elixir of life. Because the worst thing that could have happened to you has happened to you in the morning. So, what you need to do is you need to ensure that if you do not like a subject, so we have a tendency where we tend to study subjects that we like more and more all the time. We tend to do that in the planning. But so, for example, for me, that subject was geography, which I did not like at all. And I never used to study geography. I would always tend to study physics. I would always tend to study mathematics. I would even study English. But I would never prioritize studying geography. If you know you have a weak subject, although you dislike it a lot, I would tell that the best thing to do is you have to treat it like the frog of Mark Twain. Every day, when you're starting off, allocate some time to studying it. So two things will happen. Number one, the after you have finished studying that subject, the rest of the day will really go good because you have eaten the frog, and whatever else you study is going to feel enjoyable. Second, your weak subject is slowly going to become better, and you might end up liking it also. Similar thing you have to do for your backlogs. If you have missed out on something, prioritize it. Give it half an hour in the beginning of the day. Let that frog be eaten by you in the beginning itself, and the rest of the day is going to feel better. Trust me. Right. So before I let go of the morning bell students, I'm just going to have some final tips. So this is about an examination. So before an exam, there are two kinds of friends. One type of friend which says that আমি তো একদমই কিছু পড়িনি. I have not studied anything. Some of these friends end up becoming toppers as well. And then these friends tend to make us feel good. And then there are other friends who say that I have revised this syllabus portion for 5 times. And then you feel that, oh my God, I have not even finished the portion. I barely finished the portion last night. This person has studied for 5 times. What will I do? So these kind of friends tend to make us feel underconfident. So I'll tell you one thing, the examination is a very personal thing, right? It's a thing between you and the paper and the examiner. So none of these. So before the day of the exam, make sure that if you have friends of either of these kinds, avoid them. There is no point getting a fake high or a fake low before an exam based on these discussions. Second is how many of you feel nervous before an exam? So I think almost everyone, almost everyone. And I'll tell you one thing, if you it's normal to be nervous before an exam. Okay. Uh, everybody feels nervous. In fact, I get nervous before every single session that I take. So if you care about something, you will be nervous. And I will tell you, we should not try to be not nervous. Instead, what we should do is we should learn how to manage our nervous energy. So what you can do is you can start. So nobody has told you in any examination that you have to start from question number one and then answer serially. What you should do is you should go through the entire paper and find out the easiest question first. Try writing the answer to that first. Once you have done that, you automatically get into the groove of the exam and the nervous energy go away. So instead of trying to be not nervous for an exam, be nervous. That's good. That actually heightens your attention levels. But start with the easiest question so that you get into the groove, right? Don't be serious, be sincere. It's there is no point in being serious. What do I mean by sincere? By sincerity, I mean that every day you have to take small goals going forward, and you have to try to achieve these goals every day. You have to plan properly so that you're reaching these goals. So if you are consistent, sincere, by being sincere, you mean you will be consistent. And if you are being consistent every day, you will over time become confident about whatever topic you are or whatever test you are going to appear for. There will be a lot of days in which you will not feel like studying, or you will not reach your goal, or a pre-board examination score or something else would go wrong. So on these days, don't be too hard on yourself, be a bit kind. Um, this is Newton's second law of motion from the Bengali perspective, probably, where I say that everybody continues to act in a state of lathe unless acted upon by Ma, where Lad is obviously rest and Ma is F is equal to MA, so force. So, but what I mean over here is there will be a point in there will be multiple points in time where your teachers, your parents, your siblings would scold you in the next 2 3 months, and in why 2 3 months for the next 2 3 4 5 years. But and it usually we get very low after getting scolded. So try to be mindful about that. That if somebody is scolding you, they usually are doing that because they care for you, right? And try to after your nerves and emotions have gone away, try to analyze why did I get scolded, and see if there is some lacuna in the way you're approaching things that which can be improved upon, because they are scolding you because they genuinely care for you. So instead of trying to treat them like a villain or an enemy, after the emotions have initially, obviously everybody has that urge of feeling like amage সবাই বকছে, nobody likes me. But instead of going into that zone, after the emotions have dried away, try to find out internally only, try to introspect what exactly went wrong. Why did I get scolded? Can I do better? And that will actually help you. Your state of lad will get broken if you really listen to what your mind is saying. Right. So this is all that I had to say. So students from Morning Bells, I think you can quit the session now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start from zero for the other 2 3 students who have come in and have not attended any of the sessions, this session specifically in any portion. So obviously everybody went through this slide. So I'm going to start off with one question for Kanishka and Shuvitra. Can you tell me 3 things that yes, Shampura.
Sir, then can we leave, sir?
Yeah. So I think we had covered most of the things in the session, offline
Yes.
session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. Right. So whoever is staying back, can you list down in the chat box or unmute and say what do you think? What emotions come to your mind whenever I or anybody says the word examinations? Bye, Anima. Kanishka, Shumitro, what emotions do you get?
Sir, first emotion would be of pressure.
Pressure, okay. Kanishka,
Second emotion would go for that if somebody before the exam tells me that I cannot do, I mean, he or she is telling me that I cannot do it, is not capable of me that of doing it.
Hmm.
So it's the another pressure of proving myself.
Okay. Any other emotion? Kanishka, do you have anything to add to this? If you're
So
unable,
first thing which comes to mind is how much marks will I score?
okay. How much marks, right?
Second, second is whatever if I score, then what will mother say?
Right. So
And
yeah, go on.
yes, sir, only these two.
Okay, ठीक है. So obviously we have like pressure, chap, tap, stress, high temperature, tapman. These are all emotions that we feel about examination. I definitely used to feel them in my time. A feeling of time is flying away. We don't have much time left. What do I do? This is a very important feeling that we would get. So both of you were following the Cricket World Cup, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, and we felt very bad when India lost eventually. But if you realize the first couple of games, nobody was putting a lot of attention to the Indian team. But once they started doing good, we had this expectation from Rohit Sharma and the entire team that now you will win every single match and you will eventually bring home the trophy. Similarly, so when you are going for an examination, there is a pedestal that people put you on, right? Especially the board exams, where your parents, your teachers, your family members, when people that you did not even know were family members until then, everybody is somehow cheering for you. They have a lot of expectation out of you before going into an examination. So that creates a lot of pressure. What will my mother tell me? Like Kanishka was saying, that is exactly is something that is there, and all of this causes a lot of heartburn. And also, this is a time where you are almost ending class 10, going to class 11. You're going through a crucial phase of teenage where a lot of distractions in the form of relationships and all also come in. That also plays a big role in how much distracted or concentrated you are. Um, this is a poster that we had created, right, which is called I Need Space poster. So and often before an exam, especially the first board exams that you're taking, which comes in class 10, you would have this feeling that everybody is pressurizing me so much. I need my own space to think and grow. That Bengali song "Amake Amar Moto Thakte Dao" seems to resonate with almost every single student who is going to take a board exam. Right. So with this, what I would want to say, so let's the topic that we have is a very serious topic because a lot of these negative emotions come into play when we are talking about this. Uh, let's make the mood a bit lighter, and since we are talking about this heartburn aspect, let's talk about this gentleman, this grumpy looking Isaac Newton. So the story goes like this, not a very truthfully founded story, but a story goes like this, that Newton the story goes like this that ek- the story goes like this that Newton fell in love with a girl. Okay. But the girl did not like Newton back. The girl liked Pascal back. So what Newton did, Newton being Newton, he drew a 1 meter uh, sided square, stood over that square, and now said that now told the girl that now you should like me because I am now Pascal. Does this make sense? Whatever I'm talking about. What am I talking about? No idea.
Sir, pressure.
Yes, so I'm talking about this. So what Pascal was saying that Newton over a meter square is Pascal. So anyway, so this was a bad attempt at me cracking a joke. I have a few science jokes like this. So for example, if have you heard of the guy who froze himself to absolute zero? He's okay now. Can you understand what this means?
I mean minus 273.15 degrees Celsius.
0 Kelvin. So he's at 0 Kelvin now. So this is what this is about. So I have a question. The question is about this. So ignore this image for now, but just look at the statement. Why did the silent cat keep slipping on the floor? Think of a jokey answer. Keep slipping on the floor, not sleeping on the floor. Why did the silent cat keep slipping on the floor? Any idea? So think in the lines of low friction. Why would the friction be low? Maybe think about coefficient of friction. Right. So why did the silent cat keep slipping on the floor? It's because the cat was silent. Mu was 0. Mu is 0. So mu is also coefficient of friction. So that's why maybe. So the reason why I'm going through this is I've often seen, how many of these did you get?
Except the last one, everyone.
So the last one you did not understand. Are mu is coefficient of friction though. This
Mu. I think I have read in class 9, but I cannot recall it.
mu coefficient of friction. Na?
So I forgot actually.
Achha, okay, ठीक है. Anyway, no problem. So right. So why I wanted to go through these three jokes is because since we are on a serious topic, I have usually seen that students do not have that much attention span. It's a longish session. I want to try starting on a lighter note. And then there is a specific thing that I've seen, that if we talk about the human brain, right? It's a wonderful creation. I've taken a lot of exams in my life, and I've realized that there is only a few occasions in which the human brain does not seem to work, and there are when we are taking an exam or when we fall in love, and as a result, we make these stupid mistakes in both these times. So often, a lot of students tell me on it. I have also felt this, that we studied a lot before an examination, but once we are trying to write the exam, somehow it feels like we have blanked out entirely. And because of this weird behavior of the brain, what happens is our actual performance in an examination falls below our true potential. When, for example, I can tell this like for all my classes 6, 7, 8, sometimes in class 9, my class teacher used to write in my report card every single time that this person has potential, but is not performing well. And why does this happen? Why is our performance always lower than our potential? Is primarily because of three things. Either it can be we were demotivated throughout the preparation time, as a result did not prepare well, We might get confused about certain questions and aspects of concepts, or we might make mistakes. And what is the most common and most famous type of mistake that every parent and teacher keep talking about? These are silly
Silly
mistakes.
mistake.
Yes, these are silly mistakes. Everybody commits silly mistakes. So so why we are here? So I'll set some context for this session. Why in this format? Why, how, and what? So why we are here is we are here to understand how to bridge the gap between your performance and your actual true potential, right? How we are going to do that is I'm not going to talk about any special technique that you already do not know. A lot of things that I'm going to talk about, your parents, your teachers might have told this to you. All that I'm going to do differently is I'm going to give some logic on why you should follow these techniques instead of just brute force telling you that you should do A, B, C, D, E. I'm going to try and do some logical reinforcement. And what are we going to get at the end of the session or throughout the session are some roadmaps, some tools, and some strategies to provide clarity on how you should spend your time in the next 2.5 months so that you can do well in the examinations that are just coming up. Right? So, here, who are these two? What are they called in football?
Goats.
Goats, right? So they are greatest of all time. Now imagine them playing a game of football where the game of football was slightly different and looked like this. What's missing here?
The main aim is only missing. The goal is
The
missing.
goal post is missing, right? The goal post is missing. So imagine these two people playing a game of football that looked like this. In fact, football used to look like this when it started off. And the problem with this image is that if football used to look like that, were to look like this, then what would have happened? They would have aimlessly wandered around for 90 minutes here and there with the ball, 22 people running up after the ball throughout the field without actually scoring anything. And we would not have any semblance or concept of goats in the sport in this way, if this is how the game looked like. So, but while this is so obvious when we talk about football, often what happens is when we are trying to appear for any examination, we often tend to forget this important thing for ourselves. That unless we have that main thing, the aim, the goal in our lives about the specific exam, nothing is going to work out. So, what we are going to talk about first is this most important thing, which are goals. And again, with the same format, why are goals important? Goals are important because they provide direction and clarity. So, since I'm on the topic of goals, I must just want to ask you one simple question: should goals be practical or impractical? Do you think goals should be practical or should they be impractical? Shumitro, what do you think? And Kanishka, what do you think?
So
So
it tends.
practical.
Yes.
Both of you think they should be practical. So here I genuinely beg to differ. I think that goals should always be impractical. So I'll tell you two stories to reinforce why I am saying this. So one is, so let's imagine there is a student that usually in the school gets 80, 78, 80, 82%. Right. So now say the student was waking up at 7 a.m. in the morning to get this, and that the student uh, targets that next examination, I want to get an 85 or 86%. The student would probably wake up at a similar time. 7 chilo probably would have woken up at 6:45, maybe 15 minutes back, because a slight amount of effort is going to do this wonder for do this delta that is required, that the change that is required of 3 to 4% improvement that the student is trying to make. Now imagine the same student, instead of targeting a 85, 86% marks in the next examination, had the student targeted that I want to get, say, a 95%, or even say that the student says, I want to get 100% in the next examination that is coming up. I know it's weird to think that somebody would target 100%, but say the student did that. Would the student wake up at 7 or would the student wake up much earlier? কি মনে হয়?
sir, if he is capable, he can do it. ও 7টায় উঠেও করতে পারে যদি ও কেপেবল।
না তো ওর তো 7টায় উঠছিল তো 85%, 82% এর মতো পাচ্ছিল। What do you think logically, if the student is setting up an impractical goal, would the student not try to push and try to wake up? Chalo, I'm not saying just set up goal. I'm saying and if the student is serious about getting 100%, then the student would give in his or her all. ও 5টায় 4:30 4টের সময় উঠবে, trying to ensure that that 15-20% jump that the student is trying to make gets fulfilled. So so there is this thing that Kalam used to say, that the greater danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but the problem is if it is too low and we actually achieve it. Because it is possible that suppose the student targeted 85%, achieved it. It is possible that the true potential of the student lied much higher, could be at 90, could be at 95. But if the student sets a goal at 100% and puts in his or her all and then achieves 95%, that's a bigger achievement. Because think, I did not achieve my goal, but I have become the best version of myself possible, because impractical goals challenge you. If something challenges you and you're serious about achieving the challenge, you will step out of your comfort zone and you will change yourself, the usual way of doing things. And then that stretch is going to actually make you better at being yourself, at achieving your goals. So how do we become genuinely successful in any exam? Is we first set an impractical goal and we step out of our comfort zone. And so I feel very lucky that a lot of my batchmates right now work at ISRO, where they're doing wonders nowadays. One of my friends who I have studied with right from nursery up to class 12 and then at IIT Kharagpur, he took a drop year after class 12. I just entered right away. So but he came to IIT Kharagpur also in the just immediately next year. So in my same department, in mechanical engineering. So he's right now working at ISRO, and he told me that there is a saying, that's an old saying that now keeps on going at ISRO, that if you aim for the stars, you will land on the moon. If you aim for the moon, you will land up on a tree. So what happens is, if you set a very, very high goal, even on your worst day, you are going to do wonders. So I'll tell you my own story. So can you take a guess what my goal was when I was in 11-12 about my IIT JEE All India rank? What would I have put as a goal? Because I'm talking about impractical goals and all that. Can you take a guess?
Single digit AIR.
I wanted to get AIR 1, whatever it takes. Yeah, I aimed that. Yeah, I have not gotten it. I'm not saying I have achieved it, but I had worked towards it really hard. And that changed me a lot. I had put in, trust me, by my parents used to tell after a point in time that অনেক পড়াশোনা হয়েছে ছেড়ে দে এবারে. So and they used to literally take the books away from me and put me to sleep. बस बहुत हो गया. Right. So I had reached that level where I was giving my whole and soul, doing everything possible in my capability to get that thing, right? Stretching me to the last bit, obviously, without that did not make me sick, but until that point, almost until that point. In fact, so what had happened was, so this I did that. I did that throughout these 2 years time. And on the day of the exam, which is 10th April 2011, sorry, 9th April 2011, that was academically speaking one of the worst days of my life. What had happened was I had, wherever I took the pen and the paper to solve any question, I made a very basic silly mistake. And the silly mistake that I make, I'm typing that down on the chat, is wherever I did additions, and the simplest addition possible, wherever I did the addition of 1 plus 1, instead of writing down the answer as 2, I wrote down the answer as 11. And the paper was so well designed that there was a matching option that came with this calculation. And as a result, because of this weird silly mistake, I got 120 marks in negative marking. You would have appeared for Olympiads and you would know what 120 marks in negative marking means. So this was a paper out of 420, and I had attempted 409 or something like that. So I came out of the examination. This was a 6-hour long exam with a 1 hour break in between, or 2 hours break in between. I came out of the examination hall at 5 o'clock, and I met my dad for the first time ever in my life. He had come to pick me up from a center from any examination. So I got into the uh, I got out of the exam hall. I got into the car. And he asked me how the exam was. I was like, this exam was the best exam that I've given in my life. I probably become first in this exam. That is what I told him. Then through the car journey, it was 20-25 minutes car journey. So Kanishka, so this is at NIT Durgapur, and my center was at NIT Durgapur, and I used to stay in Benachiti. So 20-25 minutes it took me to reach back. During the ride back, I was just glancing through the paper, and I spotted what I had done. 1 + 1 = 11. I went back, climbed up. We used to stay in the second floor. I climbed up. My father saw that my face was looking ashen. He asked me, "Ki hoyeche?" And then at that point, just 20 minutes back, 25 minutes, I told him ki probably I will become first. I told him, hote pare IIT hobe na. After saying that, I closed my door and I slept off. I woke up at 11 o'clock. My father was like, "What happened? Suddenly, within 20 minutes, how can you say this?" Then I explained to him, "This is what I'm spotting." But then I did the real math. And eventually, what had happened was I got 292 out of 420, which gave me the rank that I required to get into IIT Kharagpur, which I really wanted to get into. I got mechanical engineering eventually. So which was a good thing that had happened on my worst day. That year, the AIR 1 had a score of 404. If I had not made this mistake, I probably would have become AIR 1. But I made this mistake. That is a part of my exam performance. And I became whatever AIR I got. But now imagine if I had put a target that I do not want to become AIR 1, I'm okay with this rank that I eventually got. And after that, I had made a mistake of 120 marks worth of negative marking. I would be nowhere. I would not have achieved the bare minimum portion of my goal also. But since I had a super high target, even on my worst day, I sailed through and got wherever I wanted to go to. So this is why setting up a very high goal is super important, very, very important. Right? Next is, so what I would want to do, there are two types of goals. I would want you to take a piece of paper, a pen, pencil, and there are two types of goals that you have. One is a long-term goal, which is in a time horizon of 2 to 5 years. So for you, this would mean that what do you want to do after class 12? What kind of college do you want to get into? What kind of job would you want to get into after college ends? So this is the time horizon I'm talking about for you as a long-term goal. As a short-term goal is something that you plan for the next 3 to 6 months. So this for you directly means how well or worse do you want to do, how well or bad do you want to do in your upcoming board exams? What exactly is that percentage that you want to get? And I'm telling you, so I please take 2 minutes time. I'll pause for 2 minutes. Try to come up with a very impractical goal for the short term and the long term. And write it down. Writing your goal downs really helps. So I'm giving you 2 minutes time for you to please think and write down for yourself what you want your long term and short term goals to be. Chalo, your time starts now. Yes. Have you written your goals down? Somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fair enough. So
Yes, sir.
what I want you to do, no, what you should do. This is something that I do all the time. So for me, my biggest weakness is sleep. I want to sleep all the time. So when the place where I sleep, just above it, exactly on the roof, I have my short term and the long term goals written down because I don't want to wake up in the morning ever. And in the morning, I look at the long term and the short term goals, and that makes me feel scared because of the sheer impracticality of them all. And then I end up waking up by a jolt. And that is how I cater to my weakness. What you need to do is wherever you have written out this long term or short term goal, probably the place where you study in front of it, or probably a place where you would frequent, that frequently you can see this thing, paste this over there, and make sure that you are going looking at this long term and short term goal at least a couple of times every day, because this constant reminders keeps you grounded and keeps you focused on what you are trying to achieve. Okay, so that is what you need to do. And so but this setting up a goal, setting up an impractical goal is just one step towards success, towards happiness, probably. What we need to talk about next is strategy. How do you achieve these goals? So I said that goals should be impractical. Should strategies be practical or impractical? Strategies are the steps that you take to achieve this goal.
So this should be practical. I guess so.
This should be absolutely practical. So, for example, Edmund Hillary, Tenzing Norgay, they put out one of the most impractical goals in the world of climbing up the tallest peak in the world, which has never been done before, because everybody who had tried to do that until that point, they had all died. Now imagine having a impractical goal. Say they had an impractical strategy saying that we will fly to that point. They would have obviously failed. But they had a very step by step, very grounded and practical strategy. They made 7 base camps: the 0th base camp, first base camp, 7th base, second, third, fourth, so up to 7th. And then they eventually made the final mount. Very well thought out, they planned out resources at every single point, and then they finally did it. So even their strategies need to be practical. So do our strategies need to be. We need to be very, very practical about our strategy. So instead of talking about a strategy, I'm going to talk about some frequently asked questions. Um, so one of the first questions that often everybody asks me is, when should we study? So instead of directly giving you an answer, I would want to talk about the science behind it. So this clock that I'm talking about, the scientific name of this clock is the circadian rhythm. In the colloquial local word language, we call it the biological clock or the body clock. Okay. So what happens is, historically speaking, prehistorically speaking, rather, from the Stone Ages, our genes have a certain way in which we behave, where our body is in tune with the light of the sun. So our bodies are generally tuned up with the light of the sun, and as per that, our different hormones get released throughout the day, which control our body clock. But obviously, this is something that can be practiced in or practiced out. A lot of us tend to be late sleepers, late risers, but what really happens is, there is a specific, I just want to talk about one specific aspect of the circadian rhythm, which is a hormone called melatonin. Right. So has this ever happened to you that you are in your deep sleep and somebody suddenly has woken you up, and then you don't even know where you are? You are absolutely at your wit's end. If this has happened to you, this is because of the presence of this hormone or a drug called melatonin, which is released in your body when you are sleeping. This, you have been drugged by melatonin, which is why you're not able to take proper rational decisions at that point. So what usually happens that when you are usually practiced to sleep, sometime before that this melatonin release starts, so that you fall asleep. Your melatonin keeps on getting released in your body until just after you have woken up. So you wake up, the melatonin release stops right around that point. It takes 2 to 3 hours for the melatonin to entirely drain out of your body. So what melatonin does is, melatonin high means your alertness is low. Melatonin low means your alertness is high. So say Virat Kohli is going to face South Africa in the World Cup final match. I would want his body to have zero amount of melatonin, because so that he can be most alert. If we are going to appear for an examination, I would want my body to have minimum amount of melatonin, so that we are at most alert at this point. So one bad thing about this circadian rhythm is it cannot be broken over a day. It takes 1.5 months minimum to get this cycle ready. So suppose you usually sleep at 3 a.m. And you usually wake up at say 10 a.m. Your melatonin release generally, even if for 1-2 days you are sleeping at 12 and waking up at 6, your melatonin release will start only around 3 and will end only around 10. But unfortunately, our examinations happen from 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So what we need to do is we need to be absolutely sure that the melatonin content in our body is zero. So which is why what I say is and to ensure that you have a healthy circadian rhythm, first of all, you need to get a solid 6 to 7 hours of continuous sleep every day. You need to get into a habit of doing that. And to ensure that by 9 a.m., so keeping a proper 2 hours time gap between your wake up and, because minimum 2 hours is required for the melatonin to drain away from your body, you need to wake up by 7 a.m. If you have to get 6 to 7 hours of sleep, which this means that you definitely cannot be a night owl and you cannot do anything, not even studying after 1 a.m. Because if you do that, your body clock is not going to be attuned with the examination pattern. Because for example, the same thing happened with me. I was a night owl. My body was accustomed to sleeping at 4 a.m. In 11, 12. And although I had slept early on before the day of my JEE examination, my body was full of melatonin throughout my exam paper. You take that question paper, that same exam for me at 12 p.m., 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. I'm telling you, I would have taken 4.5 to 5 hours to complete the paper with zero mistakes. But for me, especially, nobody is going to arrange an examination at night, right? So I failed in that part. I could not plan this. I did not have this wisdom at that point in time. And as a result, what happened was this was supposed to happen. I made the worst mistake possible, a KG1, KG2 mistake of 1 + 1 = 11. And I did not get what I was working for because of this mistake. So don't repeat this for yourself. Second is, how long should you study? Again, I don't have a straight answer for this, but I am going to talk about a technique. Do you know what this technique is? What technique am I going to talk about?
No, sir, no idea.
No idea. So this is a tomato. The Italian word for tomato is pomodoro. Okay. And there is an Italian chef who came up with this technique, which is famous as the Pomodoro technique right now. What it does is it talks about how we should plan our activity cycles, even study cycles. I follow this a lot and this works. So what it says is you should not continuously study or do something at a stretch. Instead, you have to break or cut or slice your time up like people slice up tomatoes. How do you do it? You take 25 minutes work time, then you take a 5-minute break. This is 30 minutes. You repeat this 4 times. So that is a 2 hours. And after this 4 times is over, you take a longer break of 15 to 30 minutes. Few tasks, few warning points. In this 5-minute break, do not go on a Instagram spree or a WhatsApp spree. In fact, in this 5-minute break, avoid using the phone at all. Because first of all, you do not need to infuse your brain with more information. And second, if I have seen this tendency for myself, also for every other person I've tried this on, that if you have your phone with you in this 5-minute break, this break will invariably become an 1 hour long break. Avoid sleeping off in either this 5-minute or this 15 to 30 minutes break, because then it will definitely become a 2 to 3 hours long break. Right? So this is the Pomodoro technique, where you are doing something, studying for 25 minutes, taking a 5-minute break, repeating this cycle for 4 times, and then taking a longer break. Right? Where you can go for walks, listen to music, stretch, play with your siblings if you have any, just talk to your parents. do something that is not information heavy. So why does this technique work? The reason for this is, has this ever happened to you that you are using your phone and you're outside your home and you see your phone is on low battery and you're very panicking right now? So, but it so happens that by the time you come back home, you have reached 1% charge, and that last 1% lasts you for a long time. I'm pretty sure you would have experienced this, that the last 1% lasts a long time. This is because phones discharge like this. Initially, the discharge rate is fast, and as it the charge level goes down, the discharge rate also comes down. So as the last 1% lasts for a very long duration. Similar thing happens while charging as well. Initially, the charging is fast. As the charge becomes higher and higher, after a point, you reach a stagnation point where a long duration is required for the last 3 to 4% to get charged. This is called a stagnation point. Our brains are very similar to this charging cycle of a phone battery. It initially picks up a lot of information very, very quickly, but it stagnates really quickly, really fast after that. So you would have realized this often, that often you're reading a book, but you would realize after a couple of minutes that the same sentence I have read over 6-7 times without anything getting to my head, even without realizing that I'm going over the same sentence over and over again. This situation, if it has ever happened to you, means your brain has stagnated right now and needs a break. The only way to ensure that you are not wasting your time by ineffective studies in this stagnation zone is by following the Pomodoro. 25 minutes, the brain is in this range. You take a 5-minute break, ensuring that you are not putting more information into your brain during this time. It will come down. Again, you study at a fast pace rate. So if you follow the Pomodoro technique, your rate of effective studies increase, and that helps you out basically. So if I summarize this, study in intervals of 120 minutes. So 120 minutes is 25 plus 5 into 4, 30 into 4. Follow the Pomodoro technique. And one thing is, if you're using a clock for the Pomodoro technique, ensure it's not a digital clock, because again, digital clocks gives you notifications. Notifications will take you to Instagram, where in some reels you will spend hours watching somebody dancing to Moe Moe or something like that, and it will actually distract you from the overall agenda that you had to begin with, right? So this is how long should I study? Where should I study? Definitely not here. What the image shows, and definitely not here. Definitely not on a bed. I have tried working from home during the pandemic, and I used to sleep off every single time 10 to 15 minutes within my attempt to work at the bed or study at the bed. Study on the bed, right? So what you should ideally do is you should ideally study on a table and a chair, not on your bed. For a long duration in my life, I did not have access to a separate table. So what I used to do is I used to take my chair and keep my books on the bed and sit on the chair and study. So I was studying at the bed and not on the bed. So definitely never study on a bed, because you'll definitely end up sleeping off. And one more thing that is necessary is ensuring that you have the right amount of lighting. What is right amount of lighting? Right amount of lighting is where your eyes are not getting blazed on by some bright light. So direct sunlights are a no-go. Sunlight through a whitish curtain is a good thing. Second thing is it should not be too dim, where you are trying to squint and you're straining your eyes. So that will eventually erode off your attention span, right? How can I increase my concentration? This is something that I talked about in the beginning of today's session when the Morning Bell students were here. So I'm just skipping this through. I had talked about the Feynman technique as well, so I'm skipping this through. Right. So these are some famous games of our time. Right?
Wait, this is our plan? Yeah, and it's working. We almost got him with that one. That one was my brother's pirate. Captain, I enlisted.
Right. So these are all games that I have taken screen recordings of. This is Angry Birds. What is this called? Temple Run, right? And what is this?
So some kind of Candy Crush.
This is
Crush.
Candy, one of the original versions of Candy Crush. So these three games, try remembering the time you played this for the first time. versus after having played for 2 to 3 weeks? At what point were you better, in originally or after 2 3 weeks? And the question is why?
Sir, after 2 3 weeks, because I had till that time gained my experience.
More experience, more practice you had. So similarly, if I talk about a few more goats, you have Vishwanathan Anand. Who is this?
PV Sindhu.
PV Sindhu, and we obviously know Virat Kohli. So these people are champions between them, and what do they have in common is in their respective fields they have infinite amount of practice. They have had the maximum amount of practice in their own fields, right? In fact, I had been able to witness one wonderful thing where Vishwanathan Anand, he was playing 20 separate chess players together on a table, where what he would do in Vishwanathan would go to, so Anand would go to one of the tables, make his move to the next table, make his move to the next table, make his move, complete all 20 tables, come back to the first table. By the time the first table had made their move and he played. So on an average, what I had seen was Anand had an average move time rate of 10 to 20 seconds. And so on an average, it was 12 or 13 seconds that averaged out to. He went through 20 tables with an average of 13 seconds, let's say. So each player had 260 seconds to make their moves. In this 20 tables, out of 20, Vishwanathan Anand won in 18 of them and he drew on 2, which made sure that he is better than 90% of the chess players at a 20 times lower reaction time. So how did he get such low reaction time in chess? But if I say that I would put Vishwanathan Anand behind the stumps because his reaction time is so quick, he would never be able to beat somebody like Dhoni or anybody who is or any average wicketkeeper for that matter. Why go to such extreme levels of Dhoni? Vishwanathan Anand would not do well, although his reaction time is 20 times better than the normal human being. And he was not playing normal human beings. He was playing the top rankers of chess.com from India. So what essentially has happened when we go to the gym, our muscles grow up. This is a neuron. Okay, so this is a neuron, and this is missing something which this has. This sausage looking structure. Do you know what these structures are called?
Some myelin
Sure.
sheath.
Myelin sheath, absolutely, Kanishka. So these are myelin sheaths. So when you practice on a certain, or when you try to focus, when you go to the gym, your muscles grow up. When you try to practice a certain area of your brain or exercise a certain area of your brain, the myelin sheath of the neurons in that specific part of your brain actually gets thicker and thicker. Myelin sheath happens to be a very good conductor of electricity. And our nerves normally are conducting electrical impulses, right? So what happens is if a myelin sheath is thicker in a specific neuron, our reaction time with that specific task improves. So for Vishwanathan Anand, for playing competitive chess, his myelin sheaths for that specific portion of the brain is way thicker than the normal human being, or even what most of the champs of chess, which is why his reaction time is lower. So if I talk about examinations are simple repetitive tasks, right? Where we're supposed to do 3 things. We're supposed to recognize the question. We're supposed to recall the concept that this question is from, and we're supposed to recreate the concept in the answer script or in the OMR sheet, wherever as this is applicable. So what do we need to do? We need to be very, very deliberate about our practice. We need to do one thing. So do you know who this person is? This is one of the founding fathers of our understanding of atomic structure in chemistry. That is the hint. Who is this?
Sir, Neil Bohr.
Yes, this is Niels Bohr. So Niels Bohr, he said that an expert is a person who makes maximum number of mistakes or all the mistakes that can be made in a very small area. So what if we want to become experts at taking examinations, what we need to do is we need to have very, very deliberate practice to become better at taking exams so that our myelin sheaths increase. What do I mean by deliberate practice? So we have to understand why is there a gap between our potential and performance. There are 2 things that creates this gap. First, obviously, is mistakes. So there are multiple types of mistakes. You can have conceptual mistakes where you do not have a conceptual clarity. I was talking about that Feynman technique for studying. Feynman technique for studying actually helps you with conceptual clarity. Factual clarity means I don't remember a specific thing. So if somebody is asking you the date of the Battle of Panipat, and you don't remember, that's a factual error that you have, or if you write a wrong date. A very dangerous type of mistake is an ego mistake. So what exactly is a ego mistake? A ego mistake is where you think that you are very good at a specific topic or a subject, and because you think you are very good at this specific topic or subject, suppose you get a very difficult question from that topic, and you say you take it upon your ego, saying that I will, because I'm so good at this topic, I'm definitely going to be able to solve this. Because of this ego, you're supposed to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes per question. You end up spending 25-30 minutes just working on this specific question because it is attached to your ego. And worst case scenario, you even get it wrong at the end because it was a really difficult question. As a result, what has happened? What has happened is, first of all, you have lost 20-25 minutes that could have been spent on some other easy questions on some other topic that would have given you marks. And second, you have lost your marks in this question as well. So this is an ego mistake. And then you have the most famous silly mistakes, which can be a calculation mistake. It can be a question misreading mistake, where the most important type of misreading mistake is sometimes the question asks which of these are not an example of something. We tend to forget that not part. Really hits us bad when we are answering a subjective question. This is usually caught if you're answering an objective question early on, but subjective question, if you have missed the not, you're gone, because you would be writing the exact opposite answer. And then you have random mistakes like I made. I did not make a calculation mistake. This was a random mistake where 1 + 1 became 11. And then I had made all other calculations correct. So there can be some random mistakes that are there. So one of the reasons why we do not reach our potential is because of the mistake. The second part is something that I call enhancers. So for example, I will give you an example. So if you're attempting a biological question, even if the question does not ask for it, you would get extra marks for drawing a diagram. A basic shabby diagram also works in the end. In a question like topic like physics or chemistry, suppose somebody has asked you a definition, but if you are giving examples of your definition, or you're expressing that this is the dimensional formula of the thing that you have asked me to define, or you are mentioning this is a special kind of example of this feature, or this is a special feature of the thing that you are trying to define, these are all enhancers that increase your marks. In history, although nobody has asked you anything, if you simply mention this is a date on which this happened, in English literature, Bengali literature, Hindi literature, nobody has asked you anything, but if you say that this person had written this at this context, these are all enhancers that we tend to miss on. And these enhancers also have a lot of chunk of marks assigned to them, which actually makes us lose out on our true potential, right? So, and our whole performance is lagging on. So when what do I mean by deliberate practice? I've been saying that you have to deliberately practice to become better. So what do I mean by deliberate practice? Deliberate practice is you have to definitely take mock examinations. Suppose you're appearing for CBSE class 10 ka science paper or ICSE class 10 ka chemistry paper. What you have to do is you have to take a lot of mock exams in a similar format. Why are you taking mock exam? You are taking the mock exams deliberately to identify what kind of mistakes I'm making and what kind of enhancers I am losing out on. So that after suppose I take a 2-hour long paper, I would have to spend at least 2 hours after the paper has been taken by me trying to find out where have I gone wrong and what all enhancers I have missed. Because if we do that, and if we are deliberate about finding our mistakes and enhancers early on, if we commit all our mistakes possible during the practice exams, I will not commit that same mistake when the real examination is going on. If I had made the mistake of 1 + 1 is equal to 11 in one of my mock exams, I would be mindful about it when the real exam is going on. I would not made that mistake. So this is what I mean by deliberate practice. So we need to have lots of practice. What kind of practice? So dash practice makes a person dash. Can you fill in the blanks? Dash practice makes a person dash.
So effective practice makes a person better.
So deliberate practice. The word is deliberate. Deliberate practice is a practice with a mindset of finding out where am I going wrong, what am I not doing right. So a deliberate practice makes a person better. Okay. So this is something that you have to keep in your mind while you're taking mock exams. And if you're not already taking mock exams, please take mock exams. You'll find thousands of resources online. You can buy books. You can simply find out a similar model test paper of CBSE or ICSE, whatever your board is. Start practicing and practice across all subjects, not only science and maths or your favorite topics only. Especially practice the weak subjects that you have. Eat the frog basically, and do deliberate practice. Try to find out where you are going wrong. If you do that, you would not repeat it in the next mock exam, and you would definitely not repeat the same mistake in your real examination. Right? So which students are most in demand before exams? These are the toppers because they have impeccable notes. So there is a specific way of taking notes. I'm going to send this presentation over on the group, or you can take a screenshot of this slide also if you want to. So the thing is, this is a mind map of creating mind maps. So this is one way in which you can create a map of a proper entire chapter in a single page using arrows. So you can do this. You can create notes like this, or so for example, EduDime, I have created notes right from my childhood for science and maths. So the revision charts that I have in EduDime for class 10 is most of it is inspired from my own notes. What I used to do is I used to capture one single chapter in one page, and you read it in a clockwise manner. You would get all the things that is to be revised in a single page. So you can also try, while you're revising right now for your specific chapters or your specific subjects, try to create things like this on your own. That you're taking a so I always have. Do I have my bag over here? Let me show you. So from my childhood, I've been carrying this copy with me, this kind of a copy with me, not this specific copy, where I have my notes written down in a single page all the time. So what happens is, if I have a copy like this, if you have a copy like this and you're taking notes over here, you get a bigger space. You write your entire chapter in a single page, so that before examination, instead of having to go through pages of notes or entire books, you would have 8 to 10 pages to go through. That's much easier, feels much better. Right. So try doing that. Or if you want, you can simply take the EduDime's book from Amazon or call somebody up. They can give that to you. So this is called a revision chart book that we have. You can also create this on your own. I would always suggest creating it on your own, because that enhances your memory while you're creating the notes. Finally, a very important topic that I need to cover is in the last lap, in the last few days that you have, how to prioritize what to study. Right? So here, if you know about your parents investing, or if somebody in your family is in the business sector, you would know about the term ROI, return on investment. So for a businessman, return on investment is an amount of money that I have invested, how much money does it give it back? So there is return divided by investment. For a student like you, your return on your investment is your time, energy, actually time, effort, and the return that you get is marks. So what we need to do is we need to maximize our ROI, marks divided by the effort required or time required. Okay. So what we do is, if we create a 2x2 matrix, where on the y-axis I'm creating a probability of a subject coming in, of a chapter or a specific topic coming in your board examination, with a high probability and a low probability. And suppose in the x-axis I'm creating two covers where, as per you, so this is related to the examination. This is related to your own personal relationship with a chapter or a subject. So is the effort required to cover this chapter high or low? Then so what has happened? The bucket A are all the chapters which has a high probability of coming in the examination and requires low effort. Bucket B has high probability, requires high effort. Bucket C has low probability, requires low effort. Bucket D has low probability of coming but requires high effort. What we are trying to do is we are trying to maximize marks by minimizing effort. So what we will do is we will do this first, followed by this. So we will always prioritize high probability first, followed by low probability. Obviously, we will start off with A. Then we move on to chapters which are in B. Then we move on to chapters which are in C. Then we move on to chapters which are in D. A big word of caution. If I come to know that my doctor, the doctor that I go to get treatment from, had studied in this format of ABCD based on marks, I would not go to the doctor. This technique is not a technique of learning. This technique is a technique of last minute revision for exam preparation. So while you can follow this technique right now for preparing for your upcoming pre-boards and board exams, please, once you go to 11-12, don't follow this technique. The only time you're going to follow this technique again is 6 months before your 12 board exams. Please, on earnest request, don't follow this technique of high-low probability ABCD, that the Z technique, during your 11 full term and 12 ka first term at least. Because those are the times when you're building your base. Right now in class 10, you are in your last lap. This is a technique only to be used during the last lap. Okay. So I had sent. So what I'm trying to say is, see this portion trying to predict which chapter has a high probability of coming in your board examination is actually a difficult thing to do. So I'm essentially trying to gaze into the future. I'm trying to do something sort of a crystal gazing. Is it possible? Is it not possible? Is something that I would try to explain through this. So if you really notice all the examinations that have happened in a specific format. So let's talk about boards. If you look at your board papers over the last 10 years time, 15 years time, you would see that although every year not the same type of questions are repeating, or not every year all the chapters are coming from the same, all the same chapters are carrying equal amount of marks, you would see a clear-cut pattern emerging. What you need to do is you need to get the last 10 years question papers of any subject. In the question paper, write down which chapters this specific topic this question has come from. Write that down in this specific question papers. Put that in front of you. Count the number of questions that have come from a specific chapter in the last 10 years. Note these numbers down and write down the percentages of the total number of questions in the 10 years that is there. If you do that, you would be able to predict with 95 to 98% accuracy the probability of questions coming in your examination. I've tried that, done that multiple times, works every single time. So I had sent this and this to your groups last week when somebody had asked for this. So I have used that same technique to come up with this is CBSE science, this is CBSE mathematics, right? And I have done this 2x2 matrix for CBSE science. So for myself, this is for myself, where this high output, low output basically means high probability, low probability. This is constant for everybody, but which would require low input and which would require high input for me, I have written it down like this. So now it might so happen that Kanishka likes chemistry better and finds carbonate compounds relatively easy. So for her, this will go to the left-hand side. Possibly she finds the topic of current to be requiring more effort. So this will go to the right-hand side. So the effort part, input part is more personal. So you should do that personal, that segregation personally. But the output part comes from these graphs, simply come from these graphs. Okay. So what you'll have to do is you have to spend 2-3 hours time. If you want to do the same study for social sciences, history, geography, and all that, you can do that on your own. So Shumitra, just asking for clarity, are you from an ICSE board? Or are you also?
Yes, sir. ICSE affiliated.
So I have also done this analysis for physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology for ICSE. I'll send that over to the group as well. Okay. So for the other subjects, if you want to do this analysis, please do this. The technique is pretty simple. It's not very complicated and really works out. Okay. So these were some things that I had for JEE Mains Advanced, but this is not really relevant to you right now. So what you would need to do is you need to create a table like this in your copy. From your total probability wala matrix. So how are you doing it? Instead of simply saying the count of count of a specific chapter, you all have studied data handling, you know tally marks and all that. Add up all the marks that are there from each chapter. Okay, and what you do is you set a specific line. Above this amount of marks is considered to be high, below this marks is considered to be low. So list down all the chapter names of the subject in a table, write down if it is high or low over here, and then think about yourself, what is my relationship with this chapter? Do I think it will require high effort or low effort? Fill that out over here. Based on this, high effort, high marks, low effort is A, high marks, high effort is B, low marks, low effort is C, low marks, high effort is D. Based on that, you do this categorization, automatically your box will be made. This is how you are supposed to do it for all subjects on your own. Okay? You can do it for any examination also. So suppose in the next year you want to target some Olympiads, you can also do it for that. It works out all the time. I've had how many years now? I've been using this technique since 2007. Right now we are in 2023, has never failed me. So you can try this out for, and so it takes 2 to 3 hours time to do this, but gives you a lot of effort in the last moment. Last question and last thing that I want to say is we cannot become masters of a topic or a chapter in one attempt. Okay, so like it takes stages for us, for a butterfly to go from the egg stage to the adult stage. Similarly, for us to reach mastery, it would require multiple revisions. So since you have limited amount of time right now, from now to your pre-boards would be some, if you have the pre-boards again, so some schools have second pre-board. If you have that, you would have 3 weeks, 4 weeks time at most, 3 weeks possibly. And if you do not have a pre-boards, then you have at most 2.5 weeks, so 2.5 months time for your final board examinations. Use this very, very carefully. Do not try to, so plan your days in such a way such that you're not trying to get mastery right away in every single chapter, in every single subject. Instead, try to cover with up to a certain depth for all the chapters of all the subjects in one go. You have certain depth, then you repeat this process over and over again. So that for after each iteration, you're gaining mastery on problem solving and the theory of each topic. That will really help you do better faster instead of trying to get mastery right at the beginning. Right? And keep, while you're doing this, keep by, what do I mean by 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%? These are marks that you would get on a specific subject or a specific chapter when you are taking mock exams. So keep revising, keep taking mock exams, find out where you're lacking, keep revising again. So by lacking, I mean on the conceptual or the factual front. If you're lacking on anything, revise that topic again and then take a mock exam again until you reach beyond mastery, until you are confident that this is a chapter that I will be able to teach to anybody right now. That is the confidence level that I'm talking about. When it comes to ego mistakes and silly mistakes, be mindful about them while you're taking every single mock exam, irrespective of the subject. And try to see what all, list down somewhere. What kind of mistakes do I make? What kind of silly mistakes am I making? Try to keep that list in front of you while you're taking the mocks next time of silly mistakes and ego mistakes. Try to avoid this specific type of silly mistake or ego mistake. That would help you improve in your exam preparation better. Okay? I covered about the planning bit, so I'm not going to repeat this again. So the last thing that I'm also, we talked about setting goals, which should be impractical. We wrote down the goals. We talked about a few techniques of how to go about, planning your strategy. When should we study? How long should we study? So on and so forth. We talked about the Feynman technique. This is for clarifying your conceptual doubts and concepts. Then we talked about having a lot of deliberate practice. Deliberate practice means doing practice with an objective of committing less mistakes. You want to commit as many mistakes as possible during the practice front, so that with every single practice, your mistake goes down. I also talked about mastery over here, where you should not be trying to become a master at one go. You study for a bit, you take a mock exam, find out where you're going wrong conceptually and factually, study, brush up those portions again. I talked about priority buckets of how you can find out which is more important, which is less important for an examination. And we initially talked about the 3 golden rules of planning. One last parting thought is be very wary of your frog on the plate. What is a frog on the plate? The frog on the plate, or the Achilles heel, is the one single weakness that you have that you tend to ignore. Don't do that. Always give it the highest priority. You would know this is my weakest subject, or in a specific subject, this is my weakest chapter. Always start with that and then go on something else. Try to work on your weaknesses first, because so that you have an overall good solid founding when you're taking the examination. Okay, so that is all that I had. May the force be with you. I'm watching Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars on Hotstar recently, so always getting the callback of Star Wars again and again. Right. So I hope that all of us have set a goal. So both Kanishka and Shumitro, I hope that you have set a goal. Keep that goal alive. Write that goal down, keep it somewhere so that it scares you to work hard towards that. Don't ever take yourself unseriously. Take your goals very, very seriously. And be sincere about it. It's more important than being serious is being sincere. Work towards your goal in small steps every day. Okay? I hope whatever I had to share would be of some benefit to you all. So that is the end of my session today. Thank you for coming on a Sunday. Right, and one more thing is, so this session was more about how do you plan about getting your best in the board exams. I would suggest that you take a few mock exams right away, so in the next couple of weeks' time. And once you have taken the mock exam, you will have a better idea of where you are personally lacking in terms of the exam taking strategy. So maybe 2 years, so 14 days from now, I can schedule one more session on a Friday. So either I'm free after 7 on a Friday. Sometimes I'm free during this time on a Sunday. Sometimes I'm not. So I'll schedule one session during that time after a fortnight, once you have taken a few of your mock exams at your home, where I can talk about specifically what is the most effective way of going through a question paper and answering questions, strategies of answering questions in the question paper, so that you can minimize mistakes and maximize your chances of getting marks. Also, I can cover how do you write, what is the best way of writing a subjective answer, and then you can compare your style with what I'm suggesting and you can choose your own way. Okay? So that is all. That is all that I had to share with me. Is there any question, Kanishka and Shumitra? Did you gain something, or was this something that you already knew? No, nothing gaining.
So the Feynman technique was really good.
Okay. Yeah, it works. I have started teaching people when I was in class 7. Formally started teaching people when I was in class 10. And once that happened, my learning has peaked. I'm teaching full time since 2011, right? So I have learned more as a teacher than as a student. And Feynman technique is a solid thing. It really works. Any doubts, Shumitra or Kanishka? No doubts.
আচ্ছা স্যার what is the like একটা কোশ্চেনের পেছনে কতটা মানে ম্যাক্সিমাম টাইম স্পেন্ড করা উচিত মানে অ্যাকর্ডিং টু ইটস মার্কস?
Right. So total marks কত থাকে একটা পেপারে? 80, 80.
হ্যাঁ, এটি
How much time do you have? It's 120 minutes. So per mark you are so 120 এর মধ্যে 120 should not be spent on writing things down. You should, so this works as per you. So you should have some amount of time depending on your reading speed, something between 3 to 5 minutes to read the entire question paper. That means you are left with 115 minutes. Now you have to see, ideally you should have 10 to 15 minutes to read the entire answer script that you have written. So you're left with 100 marks. 100 minutes, sorry. 100 minutes, 80 marks. So you are ideally supposed to spend 100 divided by 80 minutes per marks. So 10 by 8, 5 by 4. 1 minute 15 seconds per marks. So a 5 mark question should have 5 into this. So দেখে নাও এবার কত হয়. It's as simple as that. A comprehension, suppose in language, a comprehension passage suppose has 10 marks, then you should not spend more than 10 minutes, so more than 12.5 minutes on a comprehension passage. If an essay has 10 marks, you should not spend more than 12.5 minutes on an essay. Then you would not be able to finish effectively with pre-reading and revision in your examination. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other question? Kanishka, कोई question है?
No, sir.
No. Okay. ठीक আছে. So this is all that I had to share about preparing for the last lap. I wish you all the best. Okay. If there is any specific topic that you're getting stuck with, I specialize in science and maths. You can let me know in the group. I can always schedule sessions on those topics. So because I'm anyway free on the evenings of Friday, this is how I choose to spend my time. So you can let me know on the group and we can have sessions on that. Okay. Chalo, and if you have any doubts ever, just drop a message to me or in the group and I'll do my best to try and cover them. Chalo, all the best for your examinations. I will see you again soon. Bye bye. Prepare well.
Thank you, sir.
Mock exams. Yeah. Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye,
Vanilla.
sir.